Hey everybody, welcome to the Starshine at 49 podcast. Today I am here with Instruments of Healing Director Mark Ashby, followed by cast members Danise Whitlock and Cheyenne Kuhrt. How are you guys doing today?
We are ready to start Tech Week. So
Yay.
This is Monday of Tech Week, so yeah, ready to dive in. All the rehearsals are done, and it's time to really put in the work tonight. Get the show on.
Mark, can you give us a brief synopsis of what this show's about?
This show was written by a college buddy of mine named Andy Goldenson. He lives down in Montgomery County. We met in college in the, around 93, is the year that I met him. And the first time I saw him, he was on stage as a character named Goat in a show called The Robber Bridegroom, who was kind of like the lovable fool of the show. And I didn't know him then, but boy, I remembered him from that. And then we had some classes later, and I kind of got to know Andy. After he and I both graduated, we graduated at different times, but kind of lost touch with him after that for, probably about 10 to 12 years. And a lot of things happened in his life in the meantime. And a lot of that is detailed in this play. Basically, it's Andy's life story, lightly fictionalized. I would say a good maybe 3/4 of what people are going to see in this show is pretty accurate. I mean, even down to the words that were said. There is some fictionalization just for, purposes of drama and things like that. I won't say which parts are real and which parts are not, because I'll let people guess about that. Ooh. But it's Andy's journey through when he was young. He was a late bloomer. He was slow to talk, slow to read. He had to learn. He was diagnosed with a learning disability. Through school, he faced a lot of bullying, and came to find out that he was also diagnosed with some mental illnesses. But he wasn't back in the days when we were teenagers. You didn't really talk about that kind of stuff a lot. And his mother was who was sort of the driving force in his life, kind of didn't really want to acknowledge that. She just kind of wanted him to push through and get through what he needed to, because we sort of have to speculate that maybe in her life she didn't face a lot of the things that she wanted to do, so she was sort of making up for it. And I guess the long story, a little bit shorter, is that Andy pushed through all of that, pushed through all of the trauma that he had in his life with, finding love, losing love, and starting this organization that is called Instruments of Healing, where he uses the power of music, which has always been a big thing in his life, playing the piano and singing. And now this organization serves like 1,000 people a year that are in wellness, recovery, substance abuse programs. So it's just sort of like the story of how the organization Instruments of Healing came about.
Wow. Okay. So how long would you say this show specifically put it together? How long do you say this has been going on for? Because it sounds like Andy, doing the actual project, he's been doing it for years. How long has this play been going to fruition? I
believe it more or less started around COVID, whenever people were trying to figure out, what am I going to do with all this free time that I have now? Yeah. So he was putting together some sort of he wrote about it in his bio, I believe, about how he was writing up the sort of like the mission statement of Instruments of Healing. And his wife, Sabrina, her aunt, who has worked in theater before, she's been a director, and she lives out in California. She was like, I really see a play or a story or a musical or something in this. And Andy had done theater before. He wasn't really that deep into it. And so I think that kind of got his gears turning. And he knew that I was involved in theater up in this area. And so he just said to me, hey, if I write a play, would you direct it? And I just said, yeah, man, I'll direct that. That sounds, like a really, because he wanted to write something about his life to try to, inspire people, especially younger people who might have been going through what he did. So this has been, at least 4 or 5 years really in the making, for sure.
All right. Awesome. Danny, you've been in originals before. How do you feel being in this one?
This one is, I don't know, I'm going to say this one's at the top of my list because I kind of relate to Caroline in a way because I'm a mom too, and I've dealt with a lot of what Andy dealt with in his life. So I feel really close to this character, and this being in the show means a whole lot to me. it's really important, and I want to get the information out there and help people feel something,
Right.
whether it's they take away, that they're okay and they don't have to worry about what other people think of them or whatever they take away from it is important.
Awesome. Cheyenne, this is your first original?
I
No, you've been in other originals before. How do you feel about this one?
feel great. I feel like it's wonderful. Before I fully answer, I do want to point out that it is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wearing my Suicide Prevention Mental Health Awareness shirt today from Potomac Islands Guild. That's where I work in Kaiser. But yeah, people are always there to listen and to talk. And please, anybody who is watching who knows someone or needs someone, 988, 3 numbers. That's all you need. But that being said, I really think, especially in today's day and age, it's really important to get the word out about mental health, and see someone's story being brought to life on stage is a really good way to raise awareness to those kind of situations, because you can always ask somebody, hey, what have you been through? But until you see it unfolding in front of you, whether it be firsthand or through something like this, you don't feel the emotions, you don't connect as much, you can't take away as much as you could, just having someone say, hey, this really sucked, here's what happened. But I really think that even if this is just something somebody's going to say, oh, we don't have plans this weekend, let's go see a show, they're going to remember what they saw. So I think that's really important.
Quick follow-up question for you. How do you feel with your character? Like, do you feel any connections with how she is compared to how you are in everyday life?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I play multiple people just because it's a smaller cast, but I think Louise, she's definitely like my main character, who is Andy's wife in real life. That's her character.
Sabrina.
In the show.
Her name is Sabrina. Louise is her middle name, and Ben is Andy's middle name. So that's.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I was about to ask, are these real character names, or are they just fictional?
Yeah, some of them are. My mom is actually in this play because my mom was a mentor to Andy. Not to hijack your answer here, but I'll just briefly say that, yeah, she is. Her name was Sharon, and she is Sharon in this show. I'm called Mike in this show, and I'm not actually in it because I was originally in there, and I said, Andy, I don't want to be in this show. So,
write me out.
But anyway, I don't.
Yeah.
You
No,
can
you're
continue about your connection to Louise, because honestly, what we said when you were auditioning is I was like, if you want a connection to Louise, you can just be yourself, and that's pretty darn close to what Sabrina is.
Yeah, I always, any role that I have that I'm able, someone says that to me, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. Because not only because it's okay, not as much pressure, but also I like having a kind of personality that fits the role, like Louise. Louise is somebody that I feel anybody would be lucky to have as a friend, especially Ben, because she dives in head first. She doesn't care really where he's been from, where he's been, where he's going. She sees him, she sees his struggles, and she accepts all of him and is excited about him, about their relationship, about their future, no matter what either of them are going through. And I try to be a lot like that in my own life as well, because everybody needs somebody like that. Everyone needs someone they know that can make them smile and they can talk to, and things just feel easy. So, yeah.
Good answer.
Wow, thanks so much. Oh my gosh.
Golf clap.
So, what time is this? Modern day time period, or is this based on the real life events?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that isn't based on it is he kind of goes forward as if Ben is at the end of his life, which is at the beginning and the ending of the show.
Okay.
Sort of, projecting into the future. But it goes all the way from Ben being in kindergarten through, elementary school, middle school, high school, college years. the struggles he had while at college, finding a direction after college, and a lot of the things, like I said, after I had lost touch with him, that was, a very, very interesting and challenging part of Andy's life. But that's where a lot of the meat of the show is. But those earlier years, that kind of sets the groundwork for how he was, like with his mother in this show, it's Caroline, but Andy's mother, who I have met, she unfortunately passed away earlier this year, but she was kind of that tough love. Like, she definitely loved her children, but she was not going to let them kind of, try to get through life taking the easy way. And Andy, with all of the struggles that she had, she wanted to make sure that, you can do this. I'm going to help you, but you're the one that's got to do it. So all the way up through, Instruments of Healing founding, which would have been in the early 2010s, that's really kind of where it ends.
You said you weren't originally, you originally put in the show, but you didn't want to be in it. How do you connect with what's happening in the show? Even if it's not like the character named after you, Mike, how do you feel connecting with that show as you're watching it take place?
Well, most of what is here is Andy's words, but, Andy being a first-time playwright, he, I think, sometimes wasn't aware of how to make things a little more dramatic or throw in the humor here and there. Like, if you have a really heavy moment, it's good to throw in a little humor at the end so that the audience can kind of breathe a little bit. So that's kind of what I was contributing. So some of my contributions are in this. It's way more Andy than it is me. But as far as connecting with things, honestly, I connect most with Caroline because I'm a parent also. And having two sons, both of whom have their own mental health challenges, one of which is a little more severe than the other. But one of Caroline's lines toward Ben at the end, that was basically me asking Andy, can I throw this in here because I really want to get the parent perspective, because Andy didn't have that. Andy does not have children. So in my case, it was like, I really want to have Caroline say this to him because these are the kind of things that I thought about when I was a parent, trying to raise, young adults into adulthood and trying to get them to launch. So that's really where my connection comes with it. I've learned a lot about mental health from my own family. I kind of call myself, I'm the only one that, if you would want to use the word neurotypical, but I think they're more normal than I am a lot because the world acts a lot more like them than like me. So I try to just learn from them and realize that maybe the way that I deal with something isn't the way that everybody would be able to deal with it. And just love them as a parent, love them as a life partner, and just make sure that they've got the support they need. And that's what I like to take out of this experience is I connect with that. And I think a lot of parents who come and see it, or people who have had folks with mental health challenges in their life, they're really going to see a lot of that, whether they've dealt with that challenge themselves or not.
Yeah, I agree too. I think anybody, with the mental health challenges and stuff. Because when I was on a phone call with Andy one day, he told me a good amount of stuff that you brought up too, and stuff that I never knew about, and it kind of just goes to show that, because before I first met Andy, Singing in the Rain, I think is what it was.
Yeah, he came to Singing in the Rain. He likes to come out and try to support me too. So
yeah, and up until that point, I really didn't know what Instruments of Healing was. And when he told me about everything from his diagnosis to him putting all this together, it made me realize, this is not only for people that have dealt with it, but this is for people that maybe aren't even aware of themselves or their loved ones that are dealing with this type of stuff. So I think, I agree. I think people should come out and see the show, not just because of the story, but just the message that's being sent out.
It's the stigma thing, and I'm sure Cheyenne, in your work, and Danny, with just your life experience, we have to, the kind of one of the underlying stories is, and it's even sort of mentioned by the narrator, is that back in the 80s and 90s when Andy was going through a lot of this, we didn't talk about this. It was just sort of you just were you gotta, have better willpower than this. And a lot of people, probably are not here because they just didn't get the support they wanted. And it's because we think for some reason that mental health is different than physical health. Your brain is an organ too, and it needs to be, whenever it's sick, it needs to get help. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
Absolutely.
I feel a lot, because also September is Overdose Awareness Month. Hi, here I am again.
Hey, that's addressed
spouting
in the
out
play,
things.
not an overdose,
Yeah.
but those people who deal with those challenges
Exactly,
are in,
because
part of it.
I feel mental health is a very core problem. It's if you treat the problem at its source, at its core, then problems that come after won't happen. Or are more than likely to be less of a possibility.
Yeah, you can at least,
If you can get a handle on your mental health and have, a solid support system, therapy, meds, whatever combination of things works for you, then maybe you won't feel like you need to turn to substances. Maybe you won't feel like you need to turn to, even worse things, self-harm, things like that. And still, even to this day, it's not talked about enough. I mean, so that's another really great thing, I feel,
Well, and
having 2
being
weekends of this.
personally diagnosed myself, I grew up thinking there was something wrong with me, but not knowing what it was. And then when you're finally diagnosed with something, not that I wanted to be, but because I felt heard and seen and validated. That I wasn't this weird kid that nobody wanted to be around, that there was something wrong with me. There really wasn't anything wrong with me. I was just different because I had a different way of thinking about things, and my brain worked a different way. So I hope that maybe somebody might even recognize themselves in some of the characters and realize, hey, maybe I need to go talk to someone, or something like that might come out of it too. So I think it's going to be a really good thing all around.
Yeah, I think we have, each one of us here at this table, I think we all have some sort of connection with this type of thing, because I myself was diagnosed back in 2000, I think it was 5, and I think it was around the turn of the century that more people became aware of these types of things and were actually trying to do something about it. And especially with what's been going on nowadays in the world, I feel like this is a good fresh reminder that it's okay to talk to somebody, and hey, this is almost in a way a promotion to go call Andy about his instruments of healing, his actual foundation and stuff. So it's kind of a, I don't know, double-edged sword. Is that
good?
Yeah,
and it's the good kind.
In a good way.
Double-edged butter knife, maybe.
Yeah.
All butter knife. So for you two, Danny and Cheyenne, who would you say, without giving any spoilers, because I'm sure we don't want to spoil anything about this show, who do you love interacting with the most, in the play? Regardless, I know you have multiple characters, Cheyenne,
This
but
will be interesting.
yeah, just for funsies, who do you love interacting with the most?
I love interacting with the character Ben, which is Brett Reel. I find myself, when he's talking to me as his mother, feeling like I'm actually communicating with one of my sons. I have 2 sons. And some of the things that he says, that Ben says to Caroline, resonate in my mind and in my heart, and I'm having a little bit of trouble at some points even maintaining eye contact, because it feels so close to the vest to me. So my favorite interactions are with Brett at this point.
And they're doing a great job. And that's, a lot of this, Andy and I, just to kind of piggyback on what you're saying, because I see it too, this is really, yes, it's a story about mental health, but it's also kind of a love letter to his mom. Because he started this, his mother was still around, and she was okay with him writing it, but she's kind of, she was born in the 30s, so like we were talking about, she's a generation that didn't talk about stuff, and there may have been some things in her past as well that she just never talked about with Andy, and so she kind of supported him, but he wanted to tell her, and he does through Ben in this show. He tells her the things that he always wanted to tell her. It's just. You go through that phase. Every kid usually goes through that phase of I hate my parents. They're so stupid. They get on my case about things, and like you say in there, I'm not your friend. I'm your parent. So, but it really is kind of like Andy's love letter to his mom in a lot of ways. It's to a lot of people, but he really wanted to make sure that his mom got a lot of the credit for things that she never gave herself credit for.
Okay. Cheyenne.
Oh, I was over here thinking.
I was just stalling for time for you.
Yeah, now the spotlight's on you.
My favorite person to interact with. Ooh. Honestly, am I allowed to say myself? I mean, I know we don't really interact, me and her, we go way back though. But honestly, because I play so many, I'm over here like I have like a jillion things that I do in this show, but I feel like I have really gotten to know Andy through this story, and with the people that I play, it's been really interesting for me to like switch mindsets into, okay, what scene are we in? What am I feeling in this? What was Andy feeling in this moment? I do have a lot of interactions with Brett as Ben, obviously being his significant other in the show. Which I've done a lot of shows with Brett. I feel like we have good on stage chemistry as far as how we interact on stage and getting emotions through. That's really important to be able to be comfortable with somebody to get those hard emotions through on stage. But yeah, I mean, I feel like, especially playing different love interests and like just different characters throughout Ben's life, I've really gotten to know like myself too. A lot of the story is very familiar to me as well, and it might be in the future too. We never know. But I don't know. Yeah, I feel like just interacting as a whole throughout this entire show has really been eye-opening. Yeah.
Okay.
That's all.
All right.
I don't know if that made any sense, but
No, I think no,
you're
it
welcome.
does. So I have a intriguing question for you, Mark, and I think this will definitely help audience or like the public to come see the show. Next to Normal is a very like not only popular musical, but its themes are, I think, kind of relevant to the show. So like, is there like a way you can like, since you have directed this show twice, is there like any similarities you can pull from the show, and like what's different, and also like just what's different between that show and this show that like will make audience members go, ah.
Well, minor correction, I was performed in it twice. I produced it twice.
Produced it twice.
But Jaden Currier directed it.
He directed it,
But yes, I was, for those of you who know the musical Next to Normal, I played Dan Goodman. And the reason that I really wanted to play Dan is because his characters does a lot of the same things that I do in real life. In Next to Normal, Dan has a wife who has, her own lots of mental health challenges. He has a daughter who struggles with things herself. And there's, this other son character. I won't spoil anything about that. But he juggles a lot, but he's kind of caught in the middle of it all, just trying to keep everything together. And I do that in my life for sure, whenever times get a little tough. Mm-hmm. I do it gladly. I've been married, it'll be 26 years here in September, 25th. And, but yeah, Andy and I actually did talk about the similarities between some of the themes in Next to Normal. He was a little concerned that it would turn out a little too much like Next to Normal. And I said, it's a different kind of story because you have things in it like the bullying aspect, and there's a lot more of like an inspirational story with Instruments of Healing. I would say there are definitely those similarities of, people who have mental health challenges and the people around them. We got to learn to navigate this together, or bad things can happen. And luckily, in Instruments of Healing, the good people do outnumber the bad people. You see them both in the show because otherwise Ben wouldn't get to where he is if he didn't have the bullies and the people telling him his dreams were not worth pursuing or he wasn't good enough to do it. So that's a little different than Next to Normal. But both of these shows are going to be like right here for me for different reasons. But yeah, now that you brought that up, now I'm thinking about how many more similarities there might be in this show. No, people who like Next to Normal should like this show as well, though.
Yeah, man, it's so rare see you on stage. So when I thought Next to Normal, I thought, oh yeah, it's another one he directed. I completely forgot.
Yep.
And I watched it twice.
I don't believe in directing shows that I'm in just because I can't see. We need somebody who has eyes on the entire thing. And if I'm standing on the stage, I can't really tell that. So
yeah,
Jaden was glad that Jaden was able to do it both times.
So you've directed, of course, a bunch of other originals before. Like obviously, you've said like this one really hits to here.
Well, he's my friend. I've known him for 30 years now. So,
how like in terms of like the writing style of it, like how different does it feel to you?
Well, I will say that the first draft that he sent me, I don't know what year, it was probably 2021. He sent me a draft of it, and I said, Andy, you've got a really good book here. It's not a play yet. Because he had there was a lot of telling, not showing, which was the thing. I was like, in the theater, if you have a narrator out there, just telling you a story, people are going to go, it's like, okay, great, this is a great story, but let's see that stuff happen. So through that process, now he was the one where I would say, maybe think about this and then come back to me with a different rewrite. It wasn't like I was, taking the script and like, okay, let's do this here and let's do this here. So seeing it from that part of the process, I had never been that involved with an original before. Like the last original that I directed was Courting a couple of years ago that two of you were in. Yeah. But that was more or less in its, I don't want to say final form because Scott kept changing the script every week, but it was pretty much there. And Shakespearean style. I mean, I like it, but it's not something that I would have been able to bring kind of from the ground up. And this, I feel like I've had more of a roots to branches kind of thing. You were able
to help him write it out more.
Yeah, because he didn't have the experience with it as aside from, like, he had the life story, and it was more like, I have the theater experience, the directing experience to know this could work on stage, this is a better chance of working on stage, and this, maybe let's change this, maybe we don't need that because it's not important to the story, that kind of stuff. So you don't have people sitting in the audience for 5 hours, we don't want that.
To lighten the mood a bit, because this is a very, like, heavy show.
There's funny parts in this show. You'll find that.
I was just about
the first interaction between Ben and Louise is funny.
I was about to ask that to you guys. Like, what for each of you? Like, what's like a funny moment in the show that you just love?
Oh my goodness, you guys! You can't do that to me.
You're always the last one.
Well, I don't want to spoil anything in the show, but I honestly feel like for such a heavy. It's not a heavy show, like in its entirety. There are heavy moments. It's a heavy theme. It is lighthearted at times. It is funny at times. But I really love being able to put on a show and work on a show with such a deep meaning and with deep emotions and still have a really good time. Like as a cast, we are always laughing and talking, and we all like know of each other. There are some like new faces that I haven't seen before, which is really awesome to see. And I think that really helps with, after the show. After the show, like, yeah, we've been up there, talking about mental health for forever. And now, well, maybe we need to check in with ourselves and make sure that our mental health is doing pretty good, which I think has been really awesome of Mark to check on us as well. He's been very good about, hey, take care of yourself.
Yeah, I bet that was going on with Next to Normal too. You guys checking on each other like almost every day.
Yeah. And that's just kind of my experience. It's just like I'm always checking in with my family. Like, we doing okay? All good? All right. We can talk. But yeah, no. And also just not just a show like this, just a show in general. It's kind of a slog by the time of it. You just get mentally drained. So I'm trying to make it so that we don't get all just tired out and then we don't have anything left for the performances.
Right.
I think one of my favorite things about the lighter part of the show is Joe and Caroline. Joe is Ben's father in the show, but Joe and Caroline have this relationship of two people who obviously are married and love each other, but they joke with each other and they cut up with each other, and sometimes I think she would be borderline abusive if it wasn't really funny that she does some of the stuff.
It was okay in the 80s. It was fine.
Yeah. But I really enjoy that joking between Caroline and Joe, because I think the show needs that. It shows a really solid parent base for Ben.
Yeah, and that's mirrors Andy's, or it reflects Andy's parents, because Joe and Caroline have different ways of parenting. Like Caroline is much more of the tough love kind of thing, and Joe is the one who's kind of the moderating influence. Sometimes is like, you got to let up on this kid. Like, he's clearly got some issues, and but he recognizes, I think, ultimately that she's right. He's not going to get anywhere if we only do it the way that I'm thinking. So, but yeah, there are definitely there's a couple of scenes I can think of that are definitely funny with, because Kirk Squires plays Joe in the show, and they're having a good little time up there.
Is Joe's character is great, and
yeah,
and even I just thought of a moment like when we were first starting that made me actually laugh out loud, but it wasn't supposed to be funny. Not supposed to be funny. Well, there's an instance where Ben is not doing well mentally, and he is coming up with things that could be wrong with him. And sometimes when you see somebody going through something you're not familiar with, it's weird. It's weird. It's not normal. It can be funny sometimes. But that definitely, especially like learning the script, obviously, I'm like, oh, don't laugh there. That's not funny. But it makes you think. It makes you think, oh, yeah, duh. There are probably times that this happened in real life. Like somebody is going through something and, is acting strange, acting weird, doing things that could be seen as funny. And you got to think to yourself like, oh, okay, like, yeah, my gut reaction, I'm going to laugh because I don't understand that. I don't, know what's going on with them. But it makes you think about, oh, okay, kind of like take a minute and say, I don't understand this, and that's okay.
Sometimes laughter is a discomfort response, and I told Andy
exactly that too.
Because there were a couple of times where I was like, because like I said earlier, a lot of this is literally what he said in the situation, or somebody around him said in the situation. I'm like, if you step outside of that, this is something that people might laugh at. And I said, you have to be okay with it if that happens, if you really want this line in there. And he said, then, that I want to tell my story the way that it happened to me. So, but, I think sometimes people do laugh, and I think I know what part you're talking about, where, you laugh because you're like, I can't believe that came out of somebody's mouth. But then you sit and think about it for a while, and you're like, oh, now I feel bad for laughing at that, because he really is having a moment here that is a crisis. So, yeah, but people are going to react how they react. And if you feel like you laughed at it, come to see the show and you laughed at an inappropriate part, it's okay. Yeah. We all get to our emotions in a different way.
That's what happened a lot at the last show before this one was callbacks. Like, there was a lot of dark themes in that, and like we heard so much laughter. Like, it doesn't matter now, so spoilers. Like, every time I died on stage, people laughed at it. Yeah. They're like, it's the first death in the show, and they're like laughing at it. And when Lily Jackson crosses my name off on the whiteboard, we just hear a lot of people go, ha ha.
Yeah. Hey, he kind of deserved it.
My character was kind of a butthole, so.
Yeah. Well, nothing like that in this show, but, Yeah. Well, there are characters who are buttholes, maybe, but they come and go pretty quickly.
This show, Instruments of Healing, obviously it involves musical instruments and stuff. But you guys aren't considering it as a musical, you're considering it more of as a play. Yeah. How what's stopping it from being classified as a musical?
Well, Andy likes to call it a play with music, because he does write some of his own songs, and they are in this show. You'll hear at least two of them done in full, and then another one that's kind of like chopped up where you'll hear the full thing throughout. So I think he realized that writing an entire full-fledged musical was the first thing that he was going to do. Might be a little biting off a little too much. But the good thing about doing it this way is that when people come to see the show, there is a scene that is literally like an Instruments of Healing program that they do when they go around to the centers. They bring these instruments and microphones and a karaoke iPad kind of thing. And they just have people just get up there. Have you ever played a guitar before? No? Try now. Let's just sing, so that music is kind of that healing force. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what we really decided we were going to zero in on, is let's just focus on that aspect, that music is really the through line that is the healing component. So there is music interwoven throughout. But yeah, as far as a musical, he did say, if I write another one, maybe I'll do a musical about my mom's life or something like that. So it could happen. I mean, he is pretty talented as far as writing. He'll say that he's not the greatest virtuoso on the piano, but he's got a lot of good ideas, that Andy.
So, like, are they the actors that are playing them on stage? They're legit playing. Like,
They're legit playing the instruments.
No tracks.
No.
Wow.
Well, I mean, whenever you see them in the IOH program, yes, they are legit playing. And like Brett will have a couple of spots where he's playing the piano.
He's actually playing.
Yeah, he's
Okay.
actually playing. There are some pre-recorded tracks for other things, but it's pretty clear that there's a reason why it's that way.
Why it's that way, yeah.
Yeah.
Maddie's character, the narrator, there's no ties to it, but, like, how is she, like, written throughout the show? Is she a fourth wall, or is she a presence that the actors can see?
Yeah, Andy had the narrator in from the beginning because, it was kind of necessary because unlike most plays, like the difficulty with this play, the good thing and the bad thing about this play, I guess I will say, or maybe not the bad thing, the challenge of this play is that it goes through an entire life. So you almost have to do it like black box theater style, because you can't have a set, like the sofa's here, the chair is here, this is over here, and then we just kind of leave that stuff and it's there the whole time. We go, like I said, from a nursing home at the beginning back to his kindergarten. Mm-hmm. So let me think where I was going with that. But it's just trying to tell a story that is that involved. You need a narrator character to be like, okay, now we're moving from this to that. So Maddie is sort of like, she'll be the one to say, well, he got through college, but now he's moving out to roommates and he doesn't really have a direction in his life. What's going to happen now? And then you'll see what's going on. So, but Maddie also, this would be a spoiler if I said it. So Andy, if you're watching, I'm not going to say it, but Maddie is supposed to represent kind of, an overarching theme in the show, okay, which should become obvious as it goes along, and then definitely by the end we sort of make it a little more obvious. But yeah, the narrator really is just like the glue and the way that you're going to be able to get from one scene to the next.
I kind of see her as like the driver of the tour bus for this
show.
Mm-hmm. She sort of points us at each thing that's happening and tells us a little bit about why it's happening, and it's a really cool process to watch for me.
Okay.
She's got some long lines, and she's been doing a really good job memorizing.
Yes, she has.
That's great. What are your thoughts on that, Cheyenne? I almost called you Maddie.
My thoughts on the narrator?
Yeah, like how do you interact with her at all, or if not, like how do you feel about like?
Nobody really interacts with the narrator.
Really? Okay.
She a lone wolf.
Well, I mean, maybe a little bit with Ben, but yeah.
Yeah.
I did, yeah, like, I don't know if this would be a spoiler, but when I came to one of your rehearsals one night, I did see that interaction, there were no lines said, but there was that interaction that she has with Ben, mm-hmm, that, like, it kind of, like, it was, I don't know, it felt like she was blending herself into the story.
Mm-hmm.
In a way.
We've kind of, like, put her in little places and in occasional spots where it's like, well, what's she doing with them now instead of like up above or something? Yeah.
So, if you could put this whole thing together in one word, what would it be and why? Inspiring,
because my friend is a brave person to tell his story. This is really hard to put your life out there like that, like that people can just, and really, like I said, a lot of it is verbatim from his life. Like he would tell me the conversations that they had, or things that, he said that he felt. And, I don't know that I could do that. That's a really hard thing to do. To want to tell this story, to tell other people like, hey, if I can get through this, you can too. That's as inspiring as it gets as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Nice.
I would say maybe enlightening, because it turns certain things inside out and lets you kind of view them from the skeletal side as opposed from the outside. You can see things from the inside out in this show.
Wow. Great answer.
Yeah.
Your turn.
Yeah.
My goodness. I would say freeing.
Okay.
In a lot of ways, I feel hopefully Andy feels some sort of just breath of fresh air once he sees it all out and sees what we've done with it. And, that could also be a way to move past a lot of things. And for us too, as like cast members and portraying these parts, there's a lot of inner work that can be done. Doesn't necessarily have to be done, but after the show, I really feel like audiences, us as cast members, will feel a big weight let off and a nice freeing feeling.
You can do anything after the show. That's the idea. Is like, if this guy can do this, what do I have to complain about? I can handle my life.
Yeah, absolutely. Normally, I would say, would you guys have any questions for me? But I'm not in this show.
No.
So
You're not.
There's really nothing really to ask me unless you have anything for me that I can answer or try to
Did you get my good side?
I think I did.
All
Hopefully
right.
I did.
I don't even know if this is my good side. Which side is better? You tell us in the comments underneath.
I like the stickers on both your guys' Stanleys.
Thanks. Yeah, this
Hey,
is
Collecting for a while.
That's Anastasia. Where'd you get
Yes.
that?
take your meds.
Because I see it says Potomac State College on there.
Yeah, Mel Rice gave it to me. You'll
Oh,
have to ask her if she has any more.
yeah. I might have to get some because I didn't
You
know.
didn't get
there
any
were
for me
stickers.
either, Mel. What do you
I
think?
know. What the heck? I
I don't have anywhere to put it, but still.
got
Therapy's
soap.
cool.
I got soap
Therapy.
from Dana, but
Yeah, I got that.
Yeah, no
Wow.
stickers. Man,
One soap glory. Shout out Dana.
One Soap Glory. Oh man,
And Lip Vibo M.
yeah, I remember those for
Which
rent. I
one's
can't remember what would they were called for Anastasia.
One was something about orange blossoms.
Or yeah, something
Mm-hmm.
and
So some about the rumor in St. Petersburg was
Yeah.
involved,
Rumor.
I believe. I don't know.
I don't know if there's
Fact check me on that.
Yeah, I don't know if
Install
there
your
was
soap
one
around.
for.
I've used mine.
All right, well,
Witch Elm Botanicals. Go visit them at
Yeah.
Mountain City Traditional Arts if you want your soap.
yeah,
Good stuff.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys so much. This has been very, very fun. Finally a different show I get to ask questions about because
And you're not in it. So
I
you don't even know anything
so
about it.
I don't know anything.
I know.
How are you going to do Bonnie and
friends.
Clyde? I mean, that's going to be
Oh,
interesting.
I don't know about that one.
He's going to interview yourself.
I'll have to, either interview myself or get Jaden or Skylar to come in here to help me out. Well, thank you guys so much, and thank you all for watching. If you are interested, please come see Instruments of Healing from September 12th, 13th, 14th, and the 19th, 20th, and 21st. And this time there are matinees on Sundays. Am I saying that right?
Yes, you're correct. You're correct. We got, that's the church crowd, as I like to call it. So.
If you like to call to reserve or want to purchase online, go to Embassy Theater or embassy.ticketbud.com. Anything else, guys, you want to say?
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I appreciate
Thank you
it.
guys so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.